All right, Armando, before we continue, I want to take a second here and tell our listeners about Nitrogen Sports. If you've ever wanted to get into sportsbook or betting, check out Nitrogen Sports. Go to our website, eatsleepfantasy.com. Right at the top, we've got a banner there for Nitrogen Sports. If you want to go to the direct link, nitrogensports.eu/r/169. That's our link for you to check out Nitrogen Sports, or you can just go to our website, eatsleepfantasy.com. Let me tell you a little bit about them, all right? They're the #1 Bitcoin betting sportsbook, and right now you can join our free pools, our free NFL Survivor pool. They've got guaranteed money, so check this out. Free pools, guaranteed money, and you can bet on anything you want. Obviously, we do NFL, but they've got NBA, NHL, soccer, baseball, tennis, mixed martial arts, esports, whatever the fuck you want to bet on, right? These guys are they're the big dick of online sports betting, and you can do it wherever you're at because it's betting with Bitcoin. You can bet as little as free all the way up to a Bitcoin buy-in, that's like 10 stacks right now. So check out Nitrogen Sports on our website, eatsleepfantasy.com. It's one of the banners right there at the top. Nitrogen Sports on eatsleepfantasy.com. It's a website.
Yeah. Eat, sleep, fantasy, you rockin' with the best. NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. We talking mock drafts, running backs, better follow the conversation with
John,
Dale, Christian, and Armando. Screaming Eat Nation, we doing what we like. Tune in every week, guarantee we get it hype. Fantasy, football enthusiasts, I know you plan to be joining us on Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Yeah, Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Eat, Sleep, Fantasy.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Eat, Sleep, Fantasy Football Podcast, also known as the Hurricane Watch of Fantasy Football Podcasts. My name is Christian Brito, and joining me as always is Armando Crespo. What's up, Armando?
What's up? Did you tell them what we are yet?
The Hurricane Watch.
The Hurricane Watch. I was going to say we're the Hurricane Dorian.
Yeah.
We just keep getting stronger.
Oh,
right?
That's scary, though. Don't do that. That's scary.
It's coming right
so
for us.
I live in Florida, it seems like I'm not going to take a direct hit anymore. I'll get some of Dorian. Armando lives in North Carolina, pretty close to the coast, right?
I live right on the coast, and I am right in that line that it's probably going to go down. That's where I live.
Yeah. So we are both, we don't like hurricanes, and we get them a lot. So that's the point of this introduction. We are dropping this podcast, by the way. We're going to start right here. No nonsense. There's a lot of news. Go ahead.
I didn't even know Hurricane 5 existed.
Why are you doing this?
Nobody's
going to understand that reference.
I didn't even know they existed.
Okay,
That's my Trump reference. Sorry, I'll just go back.
Hey, can't get political on the show.
I'm not getting political. I'm not political. I'm just saying I didn't know they existed. That's some big stuff.
That's big stuff. All right. So we got a lot of news to cover because this weekend in the NFL was when roster cuts were made. Teams have to get to their 53-man roster ready for week 1. And so we saw a lot of movement, cuts, teams claiming off of waivers, teams making huge trades, particularly the Texans, who revamped their roster in a day. So we have to cover all of that today. And I want to do this in two ways, Armando, and this is what we discussed. We're going to do all of the big news. We're going to spend some time on that, and then we're going to rapid fire all of the small news so people are aware of what happened. All right? All right, cool. Let's start with the running backs that can impact fantasy or potentially impact other moves. Let's start with LeSean McCoy because he was out of a job for 2 hours. He was cut by the Buffalo Bills. He was signed by the Kansas City Chiefs. So let's talk impact with the Bills because it seems like Buffalo believes in Devin Singletary enough that they said, hey, we don't need LaShawn McCoy and the money that we owe him this year. We're going to save ourselves some money. We're gonna go out there with Singletary and Gore, and we feel comfortable with that. And now LaShawn McCoy was on, the waivers list. He's quickly picked up by the Kansas City Chiefs in an Andy Reid offense that he is obviously very familiar with. So let's start with the Buffalo Bills impact. Devin Singletary, where you got him at?
So Devin Singletary's current ADP is 36-ish, around there. So it makes him a running back 3. I think that it doesn't necessarily benefit him. I think we knew it was going to be a running back by committee. I think this helps Frank Gore. And I think if there's anyone I want to own, it's Frank Gore, because he's currently going undrafted. I mean, I don't know what to do with TJ Yeldon. He's still on the roster. But it's going to be a running back by committee, and I think Gore has better value. I think he can still finish in the 30s again. I think it's going to be similar to what we saw with the Dolphins, where he's going to get lower carries, he's going to average high, and the other guy is going to be average lower numbers too. I think it's just going to be a timeshare. I think Gore is a better value based off his ADP.
So, I do want to talk about the Devin Singletary stuff, because I think I'm alone here in terms of this podcast, especially with Dale and John. They seem to really like Devin Singletary. You mentioned you see Devin Singletary as like an RB3 for this year. And that's where he's being drafted. And I just don't see the high upside with Gore there, with a team that's offense is not going to be great. Yeah, they're going to run the ball a lot, but when you're getting 3.2 yards a carry like LaShawn McCoy, I don't think Devin Singletary at this point in his career, first of all, I don't think he's anything special. He can potentially develop that, but at this point in his career, I don't think he's much better than LaShawn McCoy was last year. And so I don't see him exceeding his draft value, which right now, RB34, I'm not in on that. He's going around guys like Darius Geis and Austin Eckler and Tariq Cohen, and I'd rather have all of those guys.
I don't disagree with you in that sense. I think at that point you're drafting for upside, and I think he's kind of similar to the Geis situation where it's a mess. There's a bunch of running backs there that are going to get to work. If I had to pick between Geis and Singletary, I'd pick Singletary, just because it's going to be a run-first offense versus what you're going to get in Redskins. I don't know what the fuck they're going to do over there.
The Redskins' offense is going to be terrible. However, so you got to balance this out. The Redskins' offense is going to be terrible, but if you had your choice, not including the team, who's the better running back, Darius Geis or Devin Singletary?
I'm gonna take Geis, but
yes,
I also want opportunity. I think opportunity outweighs that for me. That's my only argument. I think he'll get more opportunity because they're going to be so run heavy.
By the way, Devin Singletary coming out of FAU, and being 5'7" reminds me so much of the muscle hamster. He is like exactly the same prototype. So I think that is super interesting that FAU keeps producing these very short, stocky running backs that come out into the NFL. And we'll see, man. Like, I think he has the opportunity. Now, obviously, he's going to be the feature back on this offense. And with a running quarterback, it's good. I just won't have him on any of my teams. I'm okay missing out on Devin Singletary. I just don't think the value is there, and I'm going to be drafting for value.
Yeah, value based. I mean, I'm going for Gore. I'm personally not touching Singletary. I'd rather have Gore. And
also, muscle hamsters, Doug Martin. That was coined by another podcast, but I listened to so many that I'm not even sure which one. Maybe the footballers. I'm not sure.
Let's just go with that. We don't like the other guys. What do we like the footballers? I don't know.
Listen, man. I'm okay with everybody in this field that does a good job and makes sure that their listeners are getting the information and doing it in a fun and interesting way. So a lot of people have paved the road for us to even be present doing this. So I have no problems with them, even, whatever. I think it was them. I don't want to give credit to people that it's not, but
it was me. I said it. I made it up.
It might have been you.
It was my tweet. They took it from me.
That might have been.
It was definitely the what the fuck is their name?
No, bro. It was Focus. It was his own friend. His own friend gave him the muscle hamster.
It wasn't Fantasy Focus.
No, I'm reading it right here. Friend who stuck Doug Martin with the muscle hamster label. There you go. It wasn't another podcast. Fuck other podcasts. Fuck you guys.
Giving
all
way
of
too
you
much screen time.
at me. We can fight in the parking lot. Let's go.
All right, LaShawn McCoy signed with or
It'll look
traded.
just like Anchorman, but the fantasy football version.
It'd be a bunch of fat dudes.
Oh, God. Hey, man. I'm working on it. Fuck. Hey, man. I fit in all of Dale's shirts now.
I believe that. Dale looks bigger than you.
But he's like 5'5".
And how tall are you?
Like 5'9". I'm not tall.
No,
I'm
no,
not
you're
short,
taller than me.
but I'm not
taller
tall.
than me. Dale's like the short. I'm 5'6". Dale's like a 5'4".
Dale, man, you're like 5'3". You're getting shorter as this podcast goes. Let's
has
move
no
on to
kneecaps.
the other side of this, Armando. Kansas City. Because if you were a Damian Williams owner prior to yesterday, you were feeling good. The whole offseason passed by, and the Kansas City Chiefs didn't make any moves, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to have an RB1 that I got, at an RB2 price. And so Damian Williams fans and owners are suddenly not very happy. That's one. And LaShawn McCoy owners are optimistic, right? And then you add to that, all right, you, in a lot of leagues, are a Darwin Thompson owner. And a lot of people were big on Darwin Thompson. So let's talk about each of these guys, because I think if you're a Damian Williams owner, you should be panicking, and I think that's the appropriate response. Do you agree?
Yes, I 100% agree. If you own Damian Williams, like our friends do, you should be freaking out. I'd rather have everyone else besides him. Just saying.
Right. So let's just do this. Let's do the question this way. At the end of the 2019 season, the rushing leader, the leader in carries and yards for the Kansas City Chiefs will be Thompson. Okay. My answer to that question is McCoy. So regardless of which way we cut it, it's bad for Williams owners, because I think he took the biggest hit and almost goes from potential RB1 to like just almost undraftable for me, because you don't know what you're going to get out of him. And
based off his current ADP, he is undraftable for me. I'm not taking him anywhere.
I agree. I would much rather draft LaShawn McCoy at his ADP, which is 42.4, or Darwin Thompson at his ADP, which is 51. Amongst running backs, by the way.
I think everyone's value is going to drop. I mean, I drafted Darwin Thompson in a bunch of leagues in the 7th or 8th round, thinking that Hyde was gone and he was only going to need to leapfrog one guy to get the work. Now, I'd probably take him in the 10th round, but I still think eventually he's going to be the guy to own. He's the only one that's going to be there next year.
He's the only one that's going to be there next year, but I think the Chiefs are trying to win a championship this year, right? And LaShawn McCoy, obviously he's getting up there now. He's 31. He wasn't great last year, but he seems healthy. And he can catch the ball, which is what matters in a Kansas City offense. That's the reason Carlos Hyde's not there anymore. Not because Carlos Hyde can't run the ball. I don't think Carlos Hyde is that washed up. I think he's still fine, and we'll talk about him in a second. But the reason Carlos Hyde didn't challenge Damian Williams is because he doesn't – he lost that side of his ability this offseason somehow. He wasn't catching the ball well, is all the reports that we were getting, right? He wasn't in line for those carries. And LaShawn McCoy is elite at that. LaShawn McCoy is one of the best pass catchers.
Wait.
That the
was back in 1999. Hello?
Why are you gonna do this, man? Just let me talk up the old guys, because I'm gonna talk up McCoy today. I'm gonna talk up Carlos Hyde, the guys that I think right now you could just get really late and could potentially be RB2s for your team. LaShawn McCoy is going to challenge Damian Williams for that starting spot, and he is going rounds and rounds and rounds later. I'll probably send a couple offers for McCoy today, because I think he has the potential to be the RB1 for this team, especially as they start to make that title run later on this season.
I will say this. Early reports are that McCoy is supposed to get the work and that he is going to be the starting running back for that roster. So just take that for what it's worth.
All right, let's move on now to the team that made a ton of moves, and I think we have to spend like half of our fucking episode on the Houston Texans. And we'll start with Carlos Hyde because that was the first move they made. They acquired Carlos Hyde from the Chiefs, and immediately everybody wonders, why can't Duke Johnson get a starting role, man? Like, nobody loves this guy. Just let him start. Just let him play. Just let him do it. He's an elite. Duke Johnson is a top 5 pass-catching running back in the NFL who, yeah, he's one of the best. Duke Johnson can be a wide receiver in the NFL. And he's a solid 210-pound running back that's 25 years old and has never been given the opportunity to be a 3-down back. Why?
I don't know. That's a great question.
I don't know either. Why do they hate him? He is a... Anyways, in comes Carlos Hyde. Which... Carlos Hyde's not 30 yet, is he?
No, he will be
29?
by the end of the season.
Carlos Hyde is not done yet, is my point. And Carlos Hyde, right now, RB 44.5 is his ADP after this news. And Duke Johnson still going as RB 27. That's a mistake, right? It should be a lot closer. Because right now, it's going to be Carlos Hyde 1-2 and Duke Johnson the third down back. That's my prediction here. Right off the bat, Carlos Hyde will be the 1-2 and Duke Johnson will be the third down back immediately.
Look, I'm going to go on the extreme end. I'm going to catch you a little off guard. Carlos Hyde could not beat anybody out. He was cut for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he's a scrub at this point. I think that Duke Johnson is going to be the running back to own. I think that his value will take a hit, and where you can get him in drafts, I think is going to be a pretty good spot. I think there's a potential there for him to be a high-end RB2. Because Carlos Hyde is a piece of shit. No offense to Carlos Hyde. I wouldn't.
No, time out.
Look, man.
Rewind. You cannot say someone is a piece of shit followed by no offense.
No offense. I mean, in the fantasy football perspective, he's not good. He couldn't beat out an undrafted free agent, Darrell Williams.
Okay.
He couldn't beat out a 6th-round draft pick, and he couldn't beat out a 5th-round draft pick from like the Dolphins took, and they cut him. Like, he's not a good running back.
I disagree. Also, Carlos Hyde is 27. I thought it was 29.
But wait, I'm not done yet. And the Houston Texans cut Higdon and Crockett, who people were predicting to be the handcuffs to Duke Johnson. So that's all I got. Go ahead, Brito.
I'm going to say this right now. Okay? Carlos Hyde will be the runaway leader for the Houston Texans in terms of carries and touches. However, I will be shocked if he catches more than 15 patches. More than 15 in the entire season.
Wow. That's bold. Very bold. Okay. I predict that Duke Johnson outscores Hyde in standard and PPR.
Okay. And you know what? I think the point of this conversation is this is going to be a frustrating backfield. It's going to be frustrating because they both deserve work. But here's the thing. If the offense now is as good as I think it's going to be, because there's more moves that we need to discuss, but I think the offense shifted yesterday and over this weekend from a top 10 NFL offense to a top 5 NFL offense. And let's jump into some of those pieces now, because the focal point, I think, in this episode is to go over the news, obviously, but the Texans made more and more moves yesterday. So let's talk about their trade with the Miami Dolphins, because I think that's the most fantasy relevant here. So the Houston Texans acquire Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills, and they gave up 2 first-round picks, one in 2020, one in 2021, as well as a second-round pick in exchange for a 4th and a 6th from the Dolphins, and Tunsil and Stills, obviously. So The biggest concern prior to this weekend for the Houston Texans was their offensive line. I think their skill positions outside of running back with Lamar Miller going down, their skill positions in terms of their wide receivers, elite. Deshaun Watson developing into a very nice young quarterback. Their defense is obviously solid. They acquire Laramie Tunsil, which is one of the better blindside offensive linemen in the league. And they acquire Kenny Stills, which helps their receiving core, which is great, but banged up. So their offense becomes, I think, overnight, top 5. And Deshaun Watson moves up my board as now the quarterback 2 behind Patrick Mahomes. Any qualms with anything I just said?
No. I will just add that Tunsil is going to be protecting his blind side, which is very important for a quarterback. And Fuller is ready to go, but he is injury prone. So having Kenny Stills to take over that deep threat is crucial. Yeah. Like you said. And, Kiki Kuti is banged up and he might not play week 1. So I think getting Kenny Stills on that roster, just further levels that team, off injury concerns, which was an issue last year.
Kuti is not likely to play week 1 right now. We'll probably be back around week 3 or so. But you add Kenny Stills to an offense with DeAndre Hopkins, Kiki Kuti, with Will Fuller, with Duke Johnson catching passes out of the backfield. I just don't see how you don't have numbers this year for that allow that offense to be a top 5 offense. There's just too many weapons, and now they've secured. They're still not a great offensive line, but they went from horrible to like average.
Mediocre, yeah. With that one move. Tunsil's one of the best. Yeah.
With that one move, because it allows the offensive line to shift, and now your best guy only has to be your second best guy. And that makes all the difference in the world for Deshaun Watson. Just a few more, another second in the pocket makes all the difference to be able to find Hopkins downfield, to be able to make that second read and dump it off to Duke Johnson or whatever. That offense, I think, immediately shifts to being super productive this year. And going back to the running backs, I think that allows you opportunities to say, hey, yeah, Carlos Hyde might not be great, but if you give him 2 goal line rushes a game and he converts half of them, he's immediately productive in an RB2. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with you.
So that is my thing there. All right, one more time before we wrap up, I want to tell you guys about Nitrogen Sports, the oldest and number 1 Bitcoin betting sportsbook today. It doesn't matter what you want to bet on: NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, tennis, mixed martial arts, esports, cricket. I don't care what you're into. If you're into the weird shit, it's on there. Just go on ahead on over to our website, eatsleepfantasy.com, and check them out. They've got free pools with around $2,000 in prizes. Free pools. We've got our NFL Survivor pool. You can join that for free. If you're a big money baller, you can do that too. You can bet up to a fucking Bitcoin. That's like 10 stacks, all right? That's Dale money. That's Armando money. That's John money. If you want to do that on one bet, go on over to Nitrogen Sports. Head on over to our website, easleepfantasy.com. It is a website. And check out Nitrogen Sports, okay? You can do this from wherever because it is Bitcoin, all right? And they are the big dick bandits of online sportsbook betting. Check them out. $75,000 in guaranteed prizes on their NFL Survivor pools. They've got free rolls with free buy-ins. They've got big money. Just check them out, guys. There's no risk. If you've ever wanted to do online sportsbook betting, now's the time to try it out. Go to our website, eastleaffantasy.com, and check them out. The Texans also made one more trade with the Seahawks. You want to discuss that?
Not really. Clowney goes to the Seahawks. They get a couple defensive players. Not a big deal. Doesn't really affect the NFL world, our NFL world. I'm sure the Seahawks defense is going to be a little better, but that's about it.
The Texans are all in. The Chiefs are all in. A team that I don't feel is all in, and let's talk about another piece of news. It feels frustrating to me that they're not all in, is the Chargers. Before we move on to the Chargers, do you want to talk about let's talk about the Dolphins. A team that's definitely not all in for 2019. A team that is tanking this year in 2019, and they've made it evident, is the Miami Dolphins. However, we've got two Dolphins fans right now talking to you. We want to talk you off the ledge for a second.
I'm on it. No, I'm okay. I feel good about this.
We want to talk you off the ledge because they are clearly in full rebuild mode, which makes me happy as a Dolphins owner. Does it make you feel good or bad?
I am happy at the way they're doing it. I would have liked them to trade Albert Wilson as well. I think it's a big contract. They'll just add that.
So the Dolphins, since the draft, have been making moves that make me happy because it's clear that they're rebuilding, and I am in tank for Tua mode. I am excited because this is the way you do it. You acquire draft capital, right? You get your quarterback, you get pieces, and you only put money into the players that are worth it and you can get at a value. You need to build your team like it's a fantasy team, man. And here's the number that I want to give you. For 2020, there is an expected $199 million league cap. The Dolphins, with their 39 players under contract for 2020, have an expected cap space of $126 million in available money. $126 available money. They just acquired all of these draft picks from the Texans. I love what they're doing, and I'm excited. Give us a couple years, and we can finally be at least a viable team. Hopefully, Tom Brady will retire by then.
Yeah, I'm tired of the 8-8. I'm glad the Dolphins are rebuilding.
Yes.
So
we'll see. It's been more like 7-9 as of late. A lot of 7-9. It's really depressing. So, yeah, that's fine. Another team that is fucking frustrating, Chargers. The Chargers have said, and they've come out, and they've said this weekend, Melvin Gordon will not get an extension. They are not continuing any contract extension talks until after this season. The Los Angeles Chargers. Sorry, I still struggle with that. I almost messed it up on the podcast. The Chargers, to me, are a title contender. They are in the upper echelon in offense and defense. They are a title contender. You have a player that is valuable to your team and can either be productive or be a distraction, and you've decided to allow the distraction to continue rather than either fix it and offer him a reasonable middle ground contract or trade him away. You've done neither of the two. The trading options are disappearing, drying up, because the biggest landing spots for him were potentially Kansas City and Houston. Both of those have been filled with veteran presences over the last couple of days. What are the Chargers doing? Because I don't understand.
I don't necessarily understand it either. I think they believe in Austin Eckler and they believe in Justin Jackson, and I think they're trying to save cap money. I don't think it's fair. I think he deserves the money, and I think they should have given him the option to seek a trade way sooner. So just to dabble on this real quick, I'd rather have Justin Jackson over Austin Eckler based on off ADP. I think Justin Jackson can carry the load way more than Austin Eckler. I think Austin Eckler is nothing more than a Darren Sproles role player-like player. So that's just my 2 cents. If Melvin Gordon does not come back, give me Justin Jackson in the 12th round versus Eckler in the 7th.
I agree. I think it's surprising. I feel like the Chargers screwed Melvin Gordon a little bit because, to me, the pieces should have worked out a little different. I thought Melvin Gordon was either going to go to Kansas City or Houston. Those got filled. I thought LaShawn McCoy might be a piece that the Chargers would be interested in this year's run to complement that backfield. And they waited. The Chargers waited until after these spots were finished to say, hey, you can go seek a trade now. And supposedly those trade talks are ongoing and actually intensifying. But with who? Like, who's left?
It's going to be the Bucs. I think we both know that the Chiefs aren't an option because they gave guaranteed money to McCoy, and they're in their same division. So I think I think it's going to be the Texans or the Bucs, and that's really his only two options. Everyone else kind of has, is it either not in the run or
I do think the Texans are still an option, even with Carlos Hyde there, because they didn't invest a ton into Carlos Hyde. I think the Bucs, that's a good call there, is an option. However, that would destroy a lot of Melvin Gordon's value, in my opinion, because that team will not run the ball a lot. He will catch the ball a ton, because that's what they want to do.
If you want to talk about an elite pass catcher in the NFL, I think Melvin Gordon is possibly the best. I mean, a lot of his value comes in the passing game.
Kamara's probably second best.
McCaffrey's the best. Yeah, you're right. Okay, Kamara's second best. God damn it, you're right. So how can you call McCoy? Never mind.
McCoy? No. I said Duke Johnson is in the top 5.
You said Duke Johnson was top 5, and you said McCoy was one of the best.
He was one of the best.
Okay, you said that.
I think LaShawn McCoy and oh my God, I'm blanking. Running back for the Chiefs before before Kareem Hunt. A couple seasons ago. Yeah, just retired. Oh my God. For the Chiefs. Oh my God, the listeners are probably fucking furious with me. Okay, I'm sorry. You never had a fucking brain fart? I can't think of the name of the running back for the Jamal Charles. I feel like LaShawn McCoy and Jamal Charles kind of helped start this like new era of running back.
Yeah. Okay. I would say LT.
Well, LT was more runner than pass catcher, but he was the fantasy anomaly running back in the history.
Yeah, he's fucking amazing.
I don't think it counts.
No.
LT does not count. I would trade half my team for LT. But yeah, man. They kind of started this new wave of running back, and what we have now is just like we have wide receivers playing running back in McCaffrey and Kamara. Those guys are just absurd in that respect. So, all right. We're done with the Chargers emotionally because I felt like I was kind of invested in the Chargers and like they're just frustrating me.
I think Gordon plays this year. I just want to say that before we move on. I think he plays this year, but okay, I'd rather have Jackson.
So this is one of those situations, Armando, we got to look into more closely because what happened last year, right? Obviously at the running back position, and what's happening now with Gordon is we have to kind of look and see what his contract situation dictates. Because if we have a situation like we had last year with Le'Veon Bell where, hey, you have to report by week 10. If you report by week 10, then you get your money. Maybe that happens with Gordon. And if that's a situation, we got to look at his contract more closely. If that's a situation, I can very well see him missing 9 games and then coming back, right? If his contract says, hey, you got to report by week 8 or week 6 or whatever, I can see him holding out until then coming, playing, and helping his team for a lower salary than what he wants, but still getting paid. Again, he's still on that rookie deal, unfortunately for him. And he deserves more, but, he's still waiting on that.
Yeah. So I still think Melvin Gordon will play, and if you're looking for a championship belt, him going in, the 6th round is a good value. That's about it.
I don't think you can buy Melvin Gordon right now, and I don't think you can sell Melvin Gordon right now.
No, but
just hold tight.
Yeah.
Just hold tight.
Draft Jackson. He's going to be the guy to own. Eckler cannot carry the load. Other running backs, Ezekiel Elliott.
I knew you were going to say Zeke. All right, cool, Zeke.
He's probably going to sign today. If you're hearing this, he's probably going to play week 1. I think Tony Pollard is the best handcuff in the NFL, and you should hold on to him if you own Zeke. I just want to point this out before we move on from this. Running backs who don't practice in the preseason tend to have a chance of getting injured, a higher chance of getting injured. So just hold on to their handcuffs when these guys start playing again, because they did not condition the same way they would if they were with their teams. So that's just my 2 cents.
Okay. Yeah. So I agree, man. If you were a Zeke owner, drafter a few weeks ago and you got him in the 2nd or 3rd round, you are feeling pretty smart right now and pretty happy about your decision. I still think, hold on to Tony Pollard. regardless of what happens, because he is one of the better handcuffs in the game. And we could talk handcuffs a little later, but he is one of the top, 3 or 4 guys there that you want to make sure that you're holding on to.
He had one of the best preseasons for a rookie this year, so the Cowboys are feeling really good about their running back situation.
Okay, cool.
Is that
Let's
rapid
move
fire
on.
now?
Next piece, huh?
Is that all the big news?
I think that's all the big ones. Now we're going to rapid fire some of the small ones. Let's start with Jerick McKinnon going to IR. All that does is increase my Tevin Coleman love, baby.
We talked about this earlier. I fucked up and didn't. I took Jarvis Landry over Tevin Coleman, and I regret it now. I
got Tevin Coleman almost everywhere. And listen, I don't think that's going to bite me in the ass because it's not like I spent a lot. And I do think I have the opportunity to have something valuable there. But it's all predicated on the offense and Jimmy Garoppolo. If that offense is good, Tevin Coleman can be valuable. But I don't think he's the type of running back that could do it on his own. Right? It's not like a Le'Veon Bell situation where even though the Jets suck, I think Le'Veon Bell can be extremely valuable this year because he's that talented. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not David Johnson's going to help Arizona even though their team sucks. He is a middle-of-the-road running back who just needs the right opportunity and can be valuable. And we've already seen him in that offensive scheme before in Atlanta. Now it's in San Francisco. Obviously, and you've talked to me about this before, Tevin Coleman didn't look great last year. But we've seen him look great before, and this is the same scheme. And he's going to be the guy. Get the fuck out of here with the Matt Breida stuff. I don't want to hear it. Maybe you're right. I just don't want to hear it.
Look, he's going to be a good RB2. I don't see him being an RB1. I don't think his upside is through the roof. I think that he's a solid, safe RB2 with not a ton of upside, but not a ton of downside. And that's what you're kind of looking for at running back. Yeah.
Here's the thing. He's still being drafted as an RB3. Even with no Jerick McKinnon, he's still being drafted as an RB3. And of that group, he's the best of the RB3s. I'd rather have him than Miles Sanders, than Latavius Murray, than Austin Eckler, than Tariq Cohen, than Devin Singletary. And he's going in that group, and I don't think he belongs in that group. I think he belongs in the group with the Mark Ingrams and the David Montgomerys, that group.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I just think his upside is what limits him and puts him in that group.
Fair enough. Right, because David Montgomery could be an RB1, but Tevin Coleman likely will not. Okay. Yeah, I agree there.
So I'm just going to give you a couple New England Patriots news. They have released Thomas. There's interest in bringing him back, and there's a chance that Harry, their wide receiver they drafted early, might go on IR. So this kind of catapults Josh Gordon more into a steady wide receiver 2 role. Before, last week it was a crowded wide receiving core. Now it's, they got nobody. So that's just my 2 cents on that one.
Yeah, it does clarify it a bit. It sucks that Harry is he wasn't going to be super productive this year, but it hampers his development, right, for Dynasty and his ability to kind of learn that offense. But, it is what it is for this season. And like you mentioned, it does make me feel a little bit better about Josh Gordon. Yeah,
I will say he might come back, in 8 games. But, for the first 8 games, Gordon might be the only good wide receiver on that roster besides Edelman. So another piece of news is Elijah Holyfield was cut. People were really hyped about him for a little bit, but I think it's funny that he was cut. He's Evander Holyfield's son.
Yeah, it really just feels like the whole situation just kind of like bit my ear off, but whatever.
Elijah McGuire was cut, so this kind of clears up the handcuff. I think we all agree that Ty Montgomery. In theory, he's the guy to own, but I really do feel like Bilal Powell is a handcuff to own. I'm getting both of them in deeper benches. I'm going to try and get both of them. I think they're both going to be usable if Bell goes down. But I think, yeah.
All right. So now that we keep saying handcuffs, and I said that earlier we were going to just quickly mention handcuffs, your number one guy that you're getting as a handcuff in most leagues or that you want to have, true handcuff, who is it?
I said Tony Pollard earlier. I think Rashad Penny is a big take for me. He's going a little earlier than most handcuffs because of the workload, but
Right.
I think he could become a true number one over there.
This is important because a lot of these guys are still out there and available in a lot of leagues. I'll give you mine. He's available in a lot of leagues, and that's Alexander Madison. I don't think he has any standalone value, but the moment Dalvin Cook goes down, if he does, and I think Dalvin Cook is going to be great as long as he's on the field, but if he's not, Alexander Madison is an immediate RB2.
Definitely agree with that. He has looked pretty good this offseason, and they wasted a third-round pick on him, so he's definitely one of the best. I think Tony Pollard is probably the best, just based off this preseason so far. But yeah, I'm really excited about Rashad Penny. Chris Carson cannot carry the load. He cannot stay healthy. So I think
Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all.
There's not a lot of other big news. We got Doxson.
No, now it's just a bunch of small news. AJ Green did not go on IR, your boy, AJ Green. So that just basically means that he will definitely be back the first half of the season since he's not on the IR designated to return. He will definitely be back within the first 8 weeks. What do you expect? Like 4 weeks, you said?
Yeah, 4 weeks. If he's going pretty late in drafts right now, like wide receiver 36 around there, and if you're getting him, you're looking at the championship picture. Stock up on some, safe wide receivers like Jamison Crowder so he can carry you on to that week when he comes back, and then you'll be fine. You'll have a championship wide receiver. You'll have AJ Green, Brandon Cooks, and fucking Michael Thomas all on the same roster. You know what I'm saying?
In Green Bay Packers wide receiver news, yeah, I'm just going to move on. Unless you want to, we were talking about Michael Thomas. So actually, Des Bryant, he's going to come back at some point this year.
No one cares. If he ever signs, he's going to break his other Achilles.
Wow, that's not nice. Laquan Treadwell was cut. Do you care?
No. Wait, let's go back to the Green Bay Packers. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that was next on our list.
Yeah, I don't
I'm going down the list.
All right, go ahead.
Laquan Treadwell cut.
Nope, he sucks.
All right, and then Green Bay Packers, this one I want to spend a little bit of time on. Equanimus St. Brown headed to IR. So we differ a little bit in who we see as super valuable on this team. So you have Geronimo Allison being the number 2 here, and I have MVS being the number 2 here. Why?
Well, I see you have Devontae Adams as the true number 1,
right,
and MVS as the other outside receiver. I think Allison's going to be more on the field because it's going to be more of a run-heavy offense. And yeah, I think Allison's going to field more. And when you're on the field more with Aaron Rodgers, a lot of things can happen. And he's going later in drafts. So I'd rather have 1 round later of Allison than a round earlier of MVS.
So I'm going to flip that on you. MVS can do everything that Geronimo Allison can do. He can play in the slot, but he can also play outside. So that's my reason why I say MVS is going to be on the field no matter the set. 3 wide receivers, he'll definitely be out there. But if it's a 2 wide receiver set, Geronimo Allison will not be out there. It will be MVS. He's going to... I don't think MVS is much more talented than Allison. I just think he's going to be on the field more, and with that will come more targets, and he will be the wide receiver 2 for this offense. And in this offense this year, with what I think is going to be a very nice bounce-back season for Aaron Rodgers, I just think that the wide receiver 2 is going to have a lot of value. And so I've staked a claim, like I have with Tevin Coleman. I've staked a claim on MVS, and I just really feel like he's going to be the guy there. Obviously not the guy, because that's Devontae Adams, but the number 2 or number 3 option there, because obviously Aaron Jones is going to get a lot of work in this offense as well. But
before we move on, Moore, who was the 4th round pick ahead of St. Brown and MVS, was cut yesterday as well, which is it just clears it up. Now it's Jake Kumro is the other wide receiver to own over there. Yeah. I don't know what he's going to do, but for deep leagues, I think he's definitely worth a stash.
And the last roster spot for wide receivers goes to Darius Shepard, so keep an eye on that guy as well. All right. No other huge news. Everything else is kind of small. Theo Riddick placed on IR as well. Kiko Alonso traded for our Cuban Americans out there. Kiko.
He was traded to the Saints, so he's going to win a championship, be the first Cuban to win a fucking trophy.
Yeah. All right. Super Bowl 2019. Go. Oh. Texans versus Seahawks. Interesting. All right. The NFC Championship game will see the Rams defeating the Saints. The AFC Championship, we will see the Chiefs defeating the Texans. The Chiefs will play the Rams, who will lose their second consecutive Super Bowl for the Kansas City Chiefs to hoist the trophy.
Actually, I take back this. It's going to be the Saints versus the Texans. I'm taking Texans. But yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's a good one.
All right. I like it, man. Anything you want to say before we go here?
No.
All right. Make sure you check out our website, eatsleepfantasy.com. It is a website. And make sure you get Tevin Coleman, man.
Yeah, or get Darwin Thompson. Not in the 7th round like I did.
Not in the 7th round. But you can get him free right now. Although LaShawn McCoy's going to lead that backfield. All right, guys, I want to take a second here, pause, and talk about Manscaped because it's kind of changed my life a little bit because I'm no longer nicking my dickens when I need to groom. I actually, personal story here, we got Manscaped as a sponsor because I bought their product and then we reached out to them because I had such a great experience. What happened here is I went to trim my nether regions one day and I nicked my junk, but not my balls like you would think. I nicked my shaft. And, you know, if you ever gotten, you know, if you understand the blood flow there, that was a scary situation. And so the next day, I saw an ad and I bought Manscaped. And what they have right now is a lawnmower 2.0. That's their technology, which has this like no nick technology. I don't know how it works, but it's a trimmer that doesn't cut you, and it's waterproof. So you can hop on in the shower, do your business. And right now, for our listeners, if you go on over to their website, they've got this promotion, a beautiful promotion, which includes kind of this starter kit, which has like these creams that help you keep smelling good. It's got this shaver thing that has revolutionized the way I keep my body packaged down there. It's a beautiful thing. Do it. It's really nice for yourself, but it's really nice for the ladies too. Check them out. Manscaped.com, promo code ESF. That's Manscaped with a ED at the end. So MANSCAPED.com. Use our promo code ESF. They've got a very nice offer there for your first month. Go ahead and check them out. Listen to me when I'm telling you this. If you do any sort of personal grooming, just try them out. You will not regret it. It has changed my life because I don't have to be scared of something that I do, you know, often. I don't have to be scared of it anymore, and I can just do it freely without having to freak out about how uncomfortable it's going to feel while I'm doing it. So manscaped.com, promo code ESF. All right, Armando. You can follow Armando at Thunder Crespo on Twitter. You can follow me at Brito Fantasy, or you can follow our show at Eat Sleep FF. If you enjoyed our podcast, please make sure you let us know, and wherever you listen, if you could rate us. It helps other people find us on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure to do that. If you want pictures of my penis, DM me on Twitter. Thank you.
Yeah. Eat Sleep Fantasy, you rockin' with the best. NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. We talking mock drafts, running backs, better follow the conversation with John, Dale, Christian, and Armando. Screaming Eat Nation, we doing what we like. Tune in every week, guaranteed we get it hype. Fantasy, football enthusiasts, I know you plan to be joining us on Eat Sleep Fantasy. Yeah, Eat Sleep Fantasy. Woo! Eat Sleep Fantasy.